Is AOC a capitalist pig or a clueless jackass? I would say she's a little bit of both. And I know that that's cruel to say. And it's even easy. It's easy to nitpick and criticize. But in her case, being that she is a congressional representative at the federal level, I think it's necessary, very necessary. And look, I'm not a Republican at all. I'm also not a Democrat. I'm just worried, is what I am. And especially coming from a Cuban family, seeing someone like her who would rather blame the embargo. She would rather blame the embargo than the murderous Castro regime for the troubles of Cuba. At the very least, she's calling, we need more protests down there, and we need to have democracy and all that. But she does not want to call out the murderous Castro regime, which they were socialist. And that's who she backs up. She would rather take, it's as if, don't want to put words in her mouth, it's as if she'd rather take that side than the United States side. And then she's just, it's just the hypocrisy. There's got to be a new word for it, because this is beyond hypocrisy. So she gets called out by Sean Spicer, who was Donald Trump's press secretary, on Twitter, using capitalism to push socialism, branding the US left. AOC makes a push into political merchandise. And that's great. Great. Good for her, man, to make money. And she, of course, replies, not sure if you know this, Sean, but transactions aren't capitalism. Capitalism is a system that prioritizes profit at any and all human/enviro cost. Wrong. Wrong. That is not the definition of capitalism, and you're dangerously disinforming people by saying that. And just for a very basic definition of capitalism, the way I remember learning it, capitalism is an economic system. By the way, very important, it's not a governmental system, it's an economic system where individuals have the right to own property, and they also have the right to create goods and services with that property. And they also have the right to sell those goods and services for a profit in a free market. When you really think about it, capitalism is a succession of rights versus socialism. The definition of socialism per socialists, it's an economic system. Again, it's not a government, even though it usually requires a totalitarian government to carry out the central planning. But the definition of socialism is an economic system where all the means of production are owned by the state/the people. And of course, it's never the people. It's a totalitarian government like Cuba. And it becomes a prison state very quickly. But anyway, let me continue with AOC's tweet. For what it's worth, our shop is unionized, doesn't operate for profit, and funds projects like free tutoring, food programs, and local organizing. Great for you. If that's what you're really doing, you're funding free tutoring and food programs and the local organizing. That's pretty ambiguous. That can mean many things. But the other two things, that's great. Food programs for the less fortunate and free tutoring for kids that also come from less fortunate families. That's awesome. Now, she says they're not operating for profit. Okay, I hope the IRS is paying attention. And there's only so much time that I want to invest in criticizing AOC. So I'm definitely not going to dig through her tax records. I'm not going to look up her campaign financing or anything like that. And I know I'm not the only person talking about this. Actually, I know this not thanks to Sean Spicer or Reuters. I know this thanks to Tim Pool. More people need to know this. More people need to know not only the hypocrisy, the dangerous disinformation that we're getting from politicians like AOC. I don't think that the United States is going to slide into the status of Cuba. I don't think it's going to be that bad. But people need to start, beyond waking up, they need to start informing themselves about people like her and how duplicitous she is. And if not, it's not impossible to end up like Cuba. Speaking of which, I hope these are the last brutal beatdowns that we witness from the Castro regime in their last gasps at holding on to absolute power. The Cuban people deserve so much better. Speaking for myself, even though I am the son of Cuban exiles who were put in forced labor camps, I don't want to see a military intervention. And please, for anybody out there who continues ridiculing Cuban exiles and all that, please stop doing that. Not every Cuban exile wants that. And For people who think, oh my God, there's the dream, it won't die out. They just one more military strike. It's not for nothing why so many people do, because their families are being killed down there. I also wish more people understood, people like AOC. I wish they understood these aren't simply protests. And for anybody in Cuba who is actually saying everything's okay over here, nothing to see here, those people are usually with the government. Those people are benefiting from the government. And it's a shame, because there's a lot of Cubans in South Florida and throughout the United States that have family that are victims of circumstance. And there are many people who are somewhat sort of forced into that. But then again, that's Cuban politics. Most people don't care, but it is inextricably tied to things like AOC defending socialism and using capitalism to do so. Anywho, I hope everything works out for the best for the Cuban people down there. I hope these are the last days of that murderous regime. But all I can do is continue talking about that, try to raise awareness about what's going on in Cuba and why that happened in Cuba, because of lies by duplicitous bad faith actors such as AOC that need to be called out at every single turn until they get voted out of office. So I hope. Anyway, if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, and thank you for watching.